Hey everyone, this is Will at Third and Long. Today we are going to be taking a look at our 2024 way too early Alabama Crimson Tide predictions video. Game by game, what games we think they're going to win, what games we think they're going to lose. And this is a way too early prediction. Obviously, there's still spring ball going on. There's still a lot that we don't know about this team, but it's never too early to try to break down one of the best teams in the country, to try to build up some steam going into the 2024 college football season. Leaving last season, a lot of major shifts in college football. Obviously, the SEC's had a complete new facelift. They're adding in the Texas Longhorns. They're adding in the Oklahoma Sooners. But Alabama's obviously probably had the biggest change of all. The GOAT himself, Nick Saban, did retire at the end of last season. Completely caught everyone off guard. He's gone. Obviously, it's expected for this team to take a slight step back because Saban was the GOAT. Things just can't stay GOAT level season after season after he leaves. You just take a slight step back, but not too much of a step back because Alabama did hire Kalen Deboer as the head coach. This guy is a legit head coach. Bama should not miss too much here. This guy is an offensive guru. He is going to get the offense clicking on all cylinders. Defense might look a little different from last year, but have faith in Kalen Deboer. Total in his head coaching, he's 104-12. This guy can coach. He's going to get recruiting going. It just might take him 1 or 2 seasons to retool the roster to the style of play that he wants it, geared towards the type of football that he wants. But Bama, even with all of the transfers, is still top 3, top 5 total college football roster. They have Jamarcus Shepard taking over as the offensive coordinator, and they also have Kane Womack coming in as the defensive coordinator. But let's go ahead breaking things down game by game for the 2024 college football season, and also hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments or opinions, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond as well. Our very first game that we have is going to be versus Western Kentucky. That's going to be on August 31st. This is the time when we are going to finally get to see Jalen Milroe and the new look offense from the Crimson Tide. Deboer runs more of an air raid style of offense, but with a lot of vertical passing games. One strength that we know that Milroe has besides his legs is his arm. It seemed like every 5th pass was a bomb, basically. So he loves to go vertical, loves to throw deep. That's a perfect fit for Deboer. Now, Milroe really hasn't played in that style of air raid offense, dink and dunk, and then deep pass. But how is he going to adapt to what Deboer wants from him? This is our first time to see him playing in this offense at the FBS level. Western Kentucky, obviously, they also run an air raid every single season. They have a quarterback who throws for 5,000 yards. He has 40 touchdowns. They're not a bad team. They're a 6-7 win team every single season. But let's be honest here. This team is not on the same level of Bama. This is basically a minor league game for the Alabama Crimson Tide. A game for them to kind of work out some of their kinks coming out of spring ball, trying to get a couple things going, try to work on a couple new plays, to try to see how the players adapt to this scheme, adapt to this offense. Bama is still going to be a 35 to 40 point per game team on offense. The biggest question mark is defense. Bama under Kevin Steele last year had a really good defense, not as elite as previous years, but still really good. I think they might take a little bit of a step back. A still really good defense, probably still top 20, top 30 defense, but just not top 10 as they have been previous seasons. But obviously, this game is going to be a blowout. I can see Alabama winning this, like a 40 to 17 type game. Thus, starting out the year 1-0. And it's going to be a good time for us to see some of the new players, seeing Haynes at running back, seeing Miller at running back, but also seeing Bernard Jr. at wide receiver, Law, Williams. So trying to see some of the new faces getting some reps here. The next game that we're going to be looking at is a rematch from last year. It's going to be September 7th. We have Bama playing USF. This was kind of a weird game last year. Really just god-awful. The worst Bama game I've ever watched in my personal life. Bama did get the win, 17-3. Wasn't it tied at halftime like 3-3? It was really sloppy. Game was rainy. This forced Alabama to make some changes at quarterback and bring Milroe in. He did get them in the second half. Just a really bad game. This game is going to be nothing like that. Bama's offense should be doing better after the Western Kentucky game. Look for Bama to cruise to an easy win here. This is not 2023. They're going to have their offense will be a lot better early on this season. Milroe probably coming into the season with some Heisman hype. I don't think he's going to win it, but the hype will be there. I could see Bama winning this game pretty big. I'd say winning maybe like a 45-13 game. The next game we're going to be looking at is a really good out-of-conference game. This is September 14th. We have Bama visiting the Wisconsin Badgers. This is a really cool out-of-conference game. Props to Bama, props to Wisconsin for scheduling this game. And it's in Madison, Wisconsin. Luke Fickell, I love Luke Fickell. Wisconsin went 7-6 last season, not due to Luke Fickell. So they actually did really good for being a really banged-up team. They lost Tanner Mordecai. They lost both of their running backs. Fickell's a really good coach. This is a team that's going to have a top 25 defense with Phil Longo at the offensive coordinator. They're going to be better on offense. Tyler Van Dyke did transfer over at quarterback from Miami. This is going to be a really good team. You know, I would say maybe like an 8-win team in a really tough Big Ten. Bama should have the edge on talent, but this is their first true test on the road. Wisconsin will be ready to play. They can run the ball. They always have a really good O-line. Look for them to try to run the ball, try to control the clock, try to keep the ball out of Milroe's hands. I think this is a really close game going into the fourth quarter. The Badgers really surprised Bama here. They're prepared to play. Bama's still learning their new coach, learning their new staff. Staff is still learning their new players. But look for Bama to control the fourth quarter and get the win, probably the last 10 minutes of the game, stealing the game. I have Bama winning this one, probably like a 33-23 type game. The next game we're going to be looking at is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest games of the regular season. It's going to be September 28th. The Georgia Bulldogs come to Tuscaloosa. This is going to be a top 10 matchup, possibly a top 5 matchup. These teams are going to have a lot of hype. Bama, even with the new coach, is probably still going to start the year out top 10, maybe even number 5 or so. The roster's too talented. They have a legitimate coach. Georgia, though, all roads in college football right now lead through Athens, Georgia. It is what it is. Kirby Smart had his team clicking on all cylinders. They won back-to-back national championships. They lost in the SEC championship last year to Alabama. They will be out for revenge. A lot of people had them as the number 1 team last season. They might have won the national championship, but Bama knocked them out of that top 4 in the SEC championship. Georgia didn't even have a shot to play, but you got to win your games. Georgia's going to be out for blood here. They have Carson Beck coming back. He's going to be legit. He's going to be throwing the ball. They lose a lot of pieces like McClunky and Bowers. They're losing pieces, but Georgia has the best top-to-bottom roster in all of college football on offense, on defense, special teams. This team is loaded. Kirby Smart is going to be looking to beat down Alabama with their new coach, but Alabama's going to be talented. They're going to be ready to play. But I have Georgia getting the win here. So Alabama actually getting their first loss on the season. I'd have Bama losing maybe 30-21. I think Georgia's leading at the end, but Alabama gets a touchdown to make the game look closer. But I think Georgia controls this game. They have the more experienced roster, still with the same coaching staff. That's what makes the difference here. Bama's still working out some kinks. Not saying Bama's worse than Georgia. Bama has a lot of talent, but Georgia's been in their talent with their coaches for a while. Alabama's still learning their way with their new coaching staff. So look for Alabama to get their first loss of the season here. But as of right now, they're still 3-1. Obviously, things are still sitting pretty good going into game number 5. The next game that we have, game number 5, we have the Vanderbilt Commodores. This is October 5th. There's not much to say here. So obviously, Vanderbilt's head coach, Clark Lee, Vanderbilt didn't do very good last year. They won 3 or 4 games. They're probably going to win 3 games this season. This is going to be a blowout. This game is at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was working on their stadium last season, trying to retool the program, trying to add some seats in, trying to add some sky views of the city. This game's not going to be close. Look for Bama to be looking to get things back on track, out for blood, out for revenge after their loss versus Georgia. They're going to fall a couple spots in the top 25. So they'll be wanting to make an example of Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is just going to be the victim, and they're going to get curb stomped. It is what it is. I have Bama winning big here, probably like a 48 or 50-17 game. The next team that we're going to be looking at is this game's going to be October 12th. It's going to be the South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be coming to Tuscaloosa. South Carolina, obviously, they had a lot of surprises in the 2022 season. They beat Tennessee. They beat Clemson. They completely fell apart last year. They also lost their quarterback. They lost Rattler. He did graduate last season. I think they're going to be going with Sellers this season. This is not an untalented team, but they have virtually no defense at all. Even when they score a lot of points, they give up more points. Shane Beamer kind of had things clicking, but the SEC is really tough, and it's a really tough conference to try to retool and rebuild a team from the bottom up. Bama's going to be too good, too talented. I have Bama getting a pretty easy win here, probably about a 34-17 type game. The next game is at Tennessee, October 19th. Tennessee actually had a pretty decent defense last year. Josh Heupel, really good coach. He's beaten Alabama before. He wasn't scared of Nick Saban. He's not going to be scared of Kalen Deboer. But this is a really fun matchup. Two young, offensive-minded head coaches, both with an air raid philosophy. Tennessee, as I mentioned, their defense was a lot better last year. Their biggest issue was Milton at quarterback and their offense. They're going to be bringing out the 5-star. Looked really good in the bowl game last year. Looked really polished. He's going to be getting the start going into this season. This is a different look Tennessee. They're going to be wanting to go vertical more and run with power with a better defense. They're going to make it tough for Alabama. And they're at Tennessee. That's the site of the matchup when Tennessee beat them in the 2022 season. When they tore down the goalposts, threw them in the river. They're going to want to repeat that. Bama, obviously, they're out for blood here. This is going to be a really fun game. This has everything set up to be a shootout here. Bama's defense not as good as it was previously. Tennessee has a pretty decent defense, but not good or great. I see Bama getting a really close win. High-scoring game, fourth quarter type game. I can see Bama winning a 40-37 game, or possibly like a 45-41 type game. Bama gets the win. If Tennessee wins this game, though, I would not be surprised at all. Upset alert for this game. Really fun matchup, but I have Bama getting the win. Bama with a really tough schedule this year. They follow up that really tough Tennessee game, and then they have Missouri coming to town October 26th. Missouri went 11-3 last season. They beat Ohio State in the bowl game. This was a team that had a top 25 defense, top 25 offense, came out of nowhere, started the year unranked. They weren't even ranked till about week 7 or 8, went all the way into the top 10, beat the Buckeyes in their bowl game. This is a really good team, and they're bringing back a lot of their playmakers. They have Cook coming back at quarterback. They have Schrader at running back, Burden at wide receiver. Cook is going to have a 3,500 passing yard season. Probably going to throw for 25 touchdowns. Schrader's probably going to run for 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns. Burden is a legit number one wide receiver in the college football world. Missouri's not going to make it tough for Alabama. The biggest issue I said with Bama is going to be their defense. As I mentioned many times, it's going to be a good defense, but it's not going to be great. So if Missouri can keep this game close, get the ball last, they have the potential to go down the field and win this game at the end. I'm going to go with an early upset here. I have Missouri getting the win 27-24. A really close game. The game goes down to the end. Sloppy game, running the ball. Cook makes a difference in the end, and Alabama loses. Not because Alabama's not the better team, but Alabama's finding its footing with a new coaching staff who, in crunch time, they don't yet know who they can count on or what positions they can count on, because this is their first season working with these players. I have Missouri getting the upset win here and Bama getting their second loss. Bama's brutal schedule gets even worse. After their loss, they have LSU at LSU, playing LSU, their home turf. Game's no doubt going to be at night. There's going to be 100,000 people there, 200,000 people outside the stadium. It's going to be crazy. LSU under Brian Kelly. Really good coach, great coach. Jaden Daniels won the Heisman last year. LSU had a top 10 offense last year, but their defense was complete garbage. It was a dumpster fire. It was like 120th in the country. No matter what Jaden Daniels did, LSU was giving up points nonstop. Jaden Daniels is gone. He's off to the NFL. First round pick. Got his Heisman. What does LSU do to fill those shoes? This is one of the more talented rosters in the country. Brian Kelly can recruit. This roster's built. They've also worked the transfer portal really well. They're going to be able to score still. Brian Kelly, out of nowhere, has become an offensively focused coach. That's never happened before, but that's the way things are now. LSU's defense is obviously going to be a lot better. They made great hires on the defensive side, especially on the D-line. This is going to be a new team, but you're not going to turn around the defense in 1 year. They're not going to go from 120 to top 20. I have Alabama getting the win here. Probably about a 33 to 24-27 game. Bama, after playing nonstop top 25 teams, they finally have a cake game. They have Mercer coming to town November 16th. It is what it is. Alabama's going to beat the living crap out of him. Bama's probably going to win a 50 to 10. The next game we have, the schedule gets difficult again at Oklahoma. Oklahoma Sooners. Bama goes to Oklahoma. This is a matchup we never would have seen during the regular season. We finally get to see Alabama playing Oklahoma during the regular season, not the playoffs, at Oklahoma. This game's going to be fun. Oklahoma went 10-3 last season, had a really strong season, but they did lose their quarterback to Oregon, but they have a 5-star quarterback ready to take over. But obviously, he's a first-time starter, played really well the bowl game, but this is going to be a new-look Oklahoma team. Oklahoma's biggest issue last year, they were scoring 40 points a game. They could not run the ball to save their life. Dylan Gabriel was their number one rusher, and he was a quarterback. He's off to Oregon. Great quarterback, probably going to throw for 4,000 yards, run for 1,000 yards. He has Heisman-type potential with the Ducks. They lost that, even with a 5-star coming in. He's young, hasn't started playing on the big stage. He's not going to be able to fill Dylan Gabriel's shoes just yet. Oklahoma's defense played a lot better last year. Their offense is still good. I think Alabama's going to control this game on both sides of the ball. Oklahoma, all the retooling, the roster's just not quite as good as Bama's just yet. Bama gets a win on the road, but a close one, probably a 30-27 game. So now they're sitting at 9-2, probably still top 15 right now, maybe sitting around number 9 or 10. Then our final matchup of the regular season, we have Deboer versus Hugh Freeze, the Auburn matchup, the Iron Bowl. Auburn is going to be coming to Tuscaloosa. This game's November 30th. This game was a crazy game last season. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Milroe found the wide receiver in the corner of the end zone, got a touchdown, won the game. The odds of that, crazy. There was a 99.9% chance that's not going to happen. Bama's not going to need that this year. DeBoer is going to be a lot more aggressive than Tommy Rees on offense. They're going to be going vertical, running the ball, throwing the ball, being aggressive nonstop the whole game. Hugh Freeze is having to completely retool the Auburn roster. Defense was not bad last year. Their issue was their offense, especially at the quarterback position with Thorne. They need to be a lot better at quarterback. They still haven't answered those things. They are recruiting well. They are working the portal well. But this roster is in no way as competitive as Bama. Freeze, though, this is the opportunity for him to get blood and beat Alabama. Saban's gone, although he's beaten Saban before. But there's a new coach there. Take the state, beat him his first season when Alabama's somewhat retooling with their new coaching staff. This is his chance. He has a shot. He has to take it, but I don't have him hitting the target. I have Bama still getting the win here, beating Auburn again, but this game's not going to be as close. Maybe a 27-20 game or a 30-20 game, but a comfortable enough win. I have Alabama finishing the regular season 10-2. That is not bad in any way whatsoever with a new coach, coaching staff, a lot of new players, a lot of players that have left that were starters last season. Bama finishes 10-2. Don't forget, 12 teams get in the college football playoff now. If you go 10-2 in the SEC, you're probably getting in the playoffs. I have Alabama potentially getting into the playoffs. They could even get into the SEC championship where they may have a rematch with Georgia. Round 2 with Georgia in the 2024 season may go completely different because Bama by this point probably would have worked out a lot of their kinks. Coaching staff would have learned a lot about their players. Players would have learned a lot about their coaches. So the team that Georgia will be playing will not be the same team that they played in week 4. So we could have a different result. If Bama does win the SEC, obviously they're guaranteed a playoff spot. Even if they lose, though, and they finish 10-3, they could legitimately still get into the playoffs. I have Bama competing just slightly to get into that college football playoff, having a really strong season for Kalen Deboer. But this is a good foundation for him to springboard this team forward going into the 2025 season, a very strong foundation. He will be making this team more in his image every single week. So that's my prediction, my way too early prediction of the 2024 Alabama Crimson Tide regular season. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments or opinions, drop them below and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.